The epidemic of loneliness that began in Asia is spreading rapidly around the world. Why Japanese people marry holograms? Can humanoid robots replace a partner? And will we find peace of mind with artificial intelligence? Let's try to find out in today's episode. The digitalization of relationships began with numerous dating apps in the past. Having collected a huge database of people and their preferences, developers have begun to actively implement artificial intelligence technology to select the ideal partner. But that's not all. To make a meeting a success, neural networks have learned not only to select places and give advice on behavior, but also to stimulate future meetings in virtual reality, simulating the behavior of a potential partner. We have to ask, what's next? It makes sense that further, already on the available data, it will be possible to not only select, but also create a virtual partner or load the necessary qualities in a personalized robot partner. And the first suitable robots to load artificial personalities could be adult robots. In fact, companies creating sexy humanoid robots have always positioned themselves precisely as a full-fledged partner capable of brightening up loneliness and providing psychological support. They can maintain a simple conversation, get to know their partner, remember what he likes, and that's better than nothing. The most famous bot for adults, Harmony, even tries to identify human emotions and convey their own with facial expressions. In these cases, the robot looks at you the way you want. It will never have a headache. It will always laugh at your jokes, and it will never judge based on shortcomings. There are already communities of people who prefer robots and consider it a real relationship. We talked about the most advanced robots in this category in the video here at the link in the tip. But there's also those for whom humanoid robots cause dislike or fear. And what are they supposed to do? Japan has found an answer to this question. VR companion Hatsune Miku, a holographic pop star who has toured with Lady Gaga and is doing concerts around the world despite not being a real person. The virtual friend of lonely Japanese is created by Gatebox and enjoys considerable popularity. Miku becomes not just a companion, but also the wife of young Japanese singles. A few years ago, the company began issuing unofficial marriage certificates, the number of which, by 2017, already stood at almost 4,000. The virtual girlfriend can keep the conversation simple and is always happy when her partner comes home. She can remind you of your umbrella before you go out. She can be called in the middle of the workday. She's young, she's beautiful, and ethereal. Some men who marry Miko buy themselves a stuffed toy in the form of a character to have someone to hug. And it's not crazy when you consider that high demands, long working hours, and constant stress drive young Japanese men into depression and lead them to the point where thousands of them become voluntarily shut-ins and never leave a room for many years. The Japanese startup Cougar is developing a virtual assistant based on artificial intelligence that can follow the user and move smoothly from device to device. Ludens understands human emotions and intentions and communicates with people by recognizing voice, images, and understanding natural language. The product is positioned as an assistant, but it may well keep you company and give the illusion of live communication. Extraordinarily realistic digital people are created by soul machines, the ultimate goal of which is to endow its creatures with emotional intelligence. Virtual assistants are positioned as secretaries and trainers. But if it succeeds and the company achieves its goal, that these unique individuals with artificial intelligence will be able to learn in real time, show emotion, and speak natural language. This in turn would make them potentially ideal partners, like in the movie Her, where the star of the movie after his divorce prefers to communicate with an emotional but always positive and supportive machine rather than a real woman. Samsung Star Labs also creates its own artificial people capable of becoming a friend or partner. The Neon project involves the creation of unique, extremely realistic, and intelligent computer people. They will have their own character, emotions, and memories, and their response delay will be only a few milliseconds. At the same time, Neons will be available to both companies and ordinary users. All of this, while seemingly far, is almost a reality. So, what happens next? There are two options for development, and most likely both of them will be realized in the near future. The first is a combination of realistic humanoid robots that can move and have more natural facial expressions than currently, with advanced artificial intelligence capable of imitating personality, emotions, and communicating with humans in their natural language. The second development option is tactile suits for VR technology, which will allow you to interact with virtual partners as with a live person. But the use of robots as partners is not limited to this. There's also Aibo, Sony's robot dog, which has won the heartfelt love of those who have turned it on. When the company halted the project back in 2004, the robots gradually began to die due to a lack of spare parts and repair capabilities. And this gave rise to a tradition in Japan of quite literally burying robots, as their loss was equated by their owners to the death of a real pet. There's also the category of robotic companions for the elderly, small, social robots on wheels like Papiroi, pet robots that you purr and look you in the eye like Paro, baby robots like Telenoid R1, a faceless robot on which seniors project the personalities of their lost loved ones. They are all designed to fight the epidemic of loneliness, but can they actually do it? On the one hand, all of these technologies should help, but won't they cause the opposite effect? Wouldn't it be easier for people to give a robot to their aging partners than to visit them? Wouldn't having a relationship with a virtual partner be much easier and more enjoyable than having a real one? Some countries, such as the UK and Japan, have already tasked the government with addressing these issues by creating ministers for singles. What do you think? Is happiness with a robot even possible? Let us know down below. Subscribe to the Pro Robot channel, like this video, and let your opinions known down in the comments. We'll see you next time. The newest robots, inventions and technologies of the future, and which is worth keeping an eye on in 2021. Get ready for the most interesting things from the world of high tech in today's One Issue. The first discoveries of this year are Samsung's home robots. The smart and dexterous bot Handy can determine what material an object is made of in order to calculate the force required to maneuver it. The robot can pick up laundry, load the dishwasher, set your table, pour wine, and even bring your drinks. Cameras on the robot's head and limbs are responsible for object recognition. For maneuvering and manipulation, only the robotic arm, which can rotate at 3 points, specifically in the shoulder, elbow, and wrist. The arm ends with a universal grip that works with objects of different sizes and shapes. The robot can move around the room on a platform, turn from side to side, and rise to reach higher objects. And for everyday cleaning, Samsung introduced the JetBot 90 AI Plus robot. It's a vacuum cleaner that uses LiDAR and 3D sensors to clean close to furniture and children's toys. The JetBot's internal camera can be used to monitor pets as well. A recent reality has been a Mole Robotics futuristic robot kitchen project. Not as futuristic as the concept, the robotic kitchen is already quite functional. The system is sold together with furniture and utensils as everything is adapted for optimal robotics work based on proven industrial manipulators. The specially designed gripper can not only use spatulas and ladles, but also, for example, crack eggs, use a blender, or turn on the water. The robot takes ingredients from human-prepared containers. But beyond that, the entire cooking process is fully automated. The robot was trained with the help of a camera recording the cooking process and its verbal description. Breaking down the recipe into simple steps such as stir, flip, salt makes it fairly easy to teach the robot new dishes. The Toyota Research Institute showed its version of home robots not so long ago. The company's engineers are trying to solve two problems: teaching robots to perform everyday tasks around the house, and to overcome the limitations imposed by the unpredictable environment of each individual home. The latter task is partly solved by Toyota's new robot hanging from the ceiling, but it's also unlikely to be implemented in the existing modest-sized Japanese dwellings. Rather, these are developments for future homes and apartments. Toyota is not saying much about the technology behind this robot, but it recently showed off its new lab, which was created to test this very robot. The Chinese Institute of Industrial Technology introduced this year the dual-arm robot system, a robotic system with 2 arms, the total number of joints at 29. This dexterous robot with 5 fingers and 7 degrees of freedom can easily manipulate objects of different shapes and sizes. And they're made of composite material, which makes the robot lightweight yet durable. This year, Agility Robotics has seriously upgraded its humanoid robot courier Digit, making it completely self-sufficient. All you need to do now is tell the robot the route or the endpoint and it will go where it needs to go, bypassing obstacles along the way. Digit is the world's first commercially available humanoid robot with 2 legs. Currently, the price is unknown, but it's rumored to have 6 figures. The robot can lift weights up to 18 kilograms, gently by bypassing people and interacting with other robots. Digit's main customer today is Ford. The company plans to use the robot for deliveries in conjunction with its unmanned car. The robot uses LiDAR and multiple cameras mounted on its torso to scan its surroundings and quickly detect obstacles. Now, from humanoid robots, let's move on to our 4-legged friend robots. A new and rather unusual robot dog was introduced this year by Tencent. The robot dog Max uses the original leg and wheel connection scheme from Tencent Robotics X Lab, which allows him to both walk on 4 legs and ride on wheels at 25 km per hour. Tencent's software and hardware platform allows the robot to reach its surroundings and control its own balance, as well as plan actions with calculation delays of only 0.3 milliseconds. This robot can also stand up after falling down. Another novelty found was Chinese copy of the Boston Dynamics robot dog. The Weilane company introduced Alpha Dog Robot, which is able to move at speeds of up to 1 km per hour, move with 10 different gaits, and carry a load of up to 5 kilograms. The robot is also able to move autonomously, avoiding obstacles, maintaining balance, and getting up after a fall, and, according to the manufacturer, perform a number of other tasks using artificial intelligence. For example, serving as a guide for the blind, guarding homes, or patrolling a park. It's already sold 2,000 units at a price of just under $2,500. Boston Dynamics itself this year also introduced a couple of new products, specifically a brand new robot for warehouses named Stretch, and an updated version of the robot Spot with an incredibly nimble and smart robotic arm. We talked more about them in an issue about the company's robots, which you can find the link in the video description. An unusual 4-legged novelty of the year was Hyundai's Tiger X1 robotic courier for hard-to-reach and remote locations. The robot is dropped off in the night area by drone and then rides on wheels and rises on its feet to step over obstacles if necessary. The top of the robot can easily be replaced with a refrigerator or regular box. The robot has only a prototype so far, but it seems that Hyundai is serious about this technology development and plans to bring to the market a commercial version. We couldn't cover this without mentioning this year's protagonist, the Martian drone Ingenuity. Although it's not exactly a robot, the vehicle opened a new milestone in the history of exploration of other planets, and it's definitely worth mentioning. The Mars drone has already made 4 autonomous flights in the thin atmosphere of the Red Planet, which is only 1% of Earth's atmosphere. It's not equipped with any scientific instruments, except a laser altimeter, a gyro stabilizer, and video cameras. One camera is responsible for navigation, i.e. determining location, directions, and speed. The second camera is a 13-megapixel color camera, and it takes pictures on the surface of Mars. Helicopter communication with Earth is carried out through the rover. The mass of Ingenuity on Earth is 1.8 kilograms, and on Mars about 0.7 kilograms. The helicopter is lifted by air by 2 propellers, each 1.2 meters long and weighing only 35 grams. They are made of carbon fiber and covered with solar panels for recharging the drone. A pair of parallel-mounted propellers rotates in opposite directions around the common axis at about 23 to 2,900 revolutions per minute. By comparison, terrestrial helicopters make about 500 revolutions per minute. Earth-based robotics have made their mark this year as well. Carbon Robotics unveiled a robot for destroying weeds with a laser. This autonomous robot uses computer vision, a powerful lighting system that allows the robot to accurately identify weeds at any time of day, as well as 8 15-watt carbon dioxide lasers. The robot weeds 6.5 hectares a day. Australia is testing an apple-picking robot. The robot uses a combination of cameras and deep learning algorithms to scan trees and detect fruit, which requires it to process information about the shape, orientation, and the branch location. The robot can grip the apple with a specially designed pneumatic-operated soft grip that does not injure the fruit. The gripper can retrieve more than 85% of all apples on a tree, and the robot itself can identify more than 90% of the apples in its camera field of view at a distance of just over 1 meter. The machine can operate in all light and weather conditions and at speeds of 7 seconds per apple. Construction robots also made their mark this year. There were no such spectacular ones as the HRP-5P, but the Bowbot from Australian startup Princestones also looks good. It's an electrically driven robot that reaches its destination on cross-country tracks at speeds of just over 3 kilometers per hour. It can overcome stairs and thresholds, carry loads of up to 500 kilograms, and work for 8 hours without any recharging. Bowbot can be controlled from the display on the robot and from a smartphone, as well as by setting points on a pre-made map. The robot is equipped with cameras, its own lighting, and a robotic arm with a range of up to 1 meter and an accuracy tolerance of less than 1 millimeter. The robot arm is designed to handle a variety of tools and can both wrap a screw or weld metal and lay bricks. In the future, after thousands of hours of training and simulation, the robot will be able to work not only with humans, but also with other robots, and this would let the human only supervise the construction. Another major discovery in robotics this year was the microscopic robots capable of becoming medical instruments. The robots created at Cornell University are about 5 microns thick and only 40 microns wide. Equipped with feet the size of a few tens of atoms, they can move with laser pulses and interact directly with human body cells. The robots are resistant to a variety of environments, including extreme acidity and temperatures. But most importantly, it's fast and easy to produce them. In theory, they can both heal wounds from polymer shells around tumors, preventing them from growing. It's impossible to cover all the inventions and technologies of the future that are already being developed in today's one issue. So, subscribe to the Pro Robot channel, turn on those notifications, and don't miss any new episodes. Sooner or later, life will have to go beyond our blue-green Earth ball, or we will go extinct, said Elon Musk and founded SpaceX. Today we will tell you about a company about to go interplanetary, a success story, amazing facts, incredible achievements, and all of SpaceX plans for the future in this one issue. First, a little history. The entire American Apollo program was the brainchild of the government, which did not allow private businesses anywhere near the space industry. Many did not like it, but it was ironically possible to change the situation for American enthusiasts by the United States' main space opponent, the former Soviet Union. This is where the first steps were taken to establish commercial space services. Russia's reasonably priced, reliable rockets have made space more accessible and opened it up to private companies. In 2000, the Dutch company Mircorps was awarded a service contract for the Russian Mir space station. In the year before, Mir was taken out of orbit in 2001. It had made history by being the first to resupply the station with private funds, the first to organize a manned mission at private expense, and the first to contract a spaceflight for tourism purposes. This rekindled interest in space in the US spawned a wave of startups who sought to develop their own low-cost rockets. But lawmakers and corporations didn't want to embrace space entrepreneurship, and companies closed as quickly as they opened. And that's where Elon Musk comes into the picture. In 2001, Musk introduced the Mars Oasis concept, a project to land a miniature experimental greenhouse and grow plants on Mars. This was his way of trying to regain public interest in space exploration and attract the attention of NASA. To realize the project, he wanted to buy the Russian rockets Dnieper, twice coming to Russia to get them. For the first time, the then unknown entrepreneur was not taken seriously, and the second time the negotiations were held, but the price of $8 million for the rocket did not satisfy the entrepreneur. He calculated that the components of any rocket are only a few % of its market value, and decided to build cheap rockets himself. Thus, in 2002, SpaceX appeared, in which the entrepreneur invested his own funds from the sale of his first IT startup, Zip2, and his share in PayPal. Musk immediately calculated that to create a reliable and cheap rocket, all components for it must be produced by himself. In fact, the implementation of such a project without the participation of the state, the main customer of services in the space sphere, was possible. And the entrepreneur did his best to attract the attention of the public and NASA. So at the end of 2003, the businessman talked about the Falcon 1 rocket, taking it through all the states on a truck, which was parked, for example, right in front of the National Air and Space Museum in Washington. And it got results. In 2004, Congress passed a law that made it much easier for commercial launch companies to enter the market. In 2005, NASA passed a new Commercial Orbital Transportation Services program. Instead of taking the whole process of designing and development on itself, the agency now simply defined the necessary characteristics of the transport and invited companies to participate in the contest for their best implementation. SpaceX seized the opportunity and in 2006 won a contract with NASA to develop the Falcon 9 rocket for $278 million. Its first successful launch was in 2010. In addition, in 2008, the company signed another contract with the agency, this time worth $1.6 billion, to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. The success of the company contributed to the fact that the big players in the US were not interested in such a small contract, but it was huge money for SpaceX. But back to the beginning. The first launch of the company's first Falcon 1 rocket lasted only 1 minute. The second and third attempts were also unsuccessful. Only the fourth launch in September of 2008 went according to plan, and the Falcon 1 successfully entered orbit, becoming the first private liquid propellant rocket to reach Earth's orbit. Based on the Falcon 1, SpaceX is developing the Falcon 9, which includes 9 Merlin engines the company developed from scratch and tested on the first rocket. Interestingly, if one of the rocket's engines fails, it can still finish the mission. This makes Musk rockets not only cheap, but also unique. By the way, 85% of all components for both rockets, and in the future for the spacecraft Dragon, the company produces itself, while sometimes inventing equipment for their manufacturer. For example, SpaceX had to design a machine for friction welding with agitation of the aluminum-lithium alloy for the body of Falcon 9, because such equipment did not yet exist. In 2010, SpaceX made history again as the first private company to return its spacecraft from orbit. The unmanned Dragon landed on the Pacific Ocean a few hundred miles off the coast of Mexico. Just 2 years later, SpaceX became the first private company to dock with the International Space Station. Astronauts aboard the space station used a robotic arm to drag the Dragon capsule to the docking port on the station. After the mission, SpaceX sent its craft to the International Space Station several more times to resupply the station. In 2015, SpaceX made history yet again with the first unmanned vertical landing of the first stage of a Falcon 9 orbital rocket. Developing technology to land and reuse launch vehicles and spacecraft was one of the main reasons Elon Musk founded SpaceX, because only such technology could make the flights more accessible to Mars, for which the entrepreneur started it all. The Falcon 9 is a 2-stage orbital rocket that has been used to launch satellites for companies and governments, resupply the International Space Station, and even send the US Air Force's top-secret space plane on its mysterious long missions. To date, the company has flown more than 80 Falcon 9 missions in just the past 9 years. To make landing even easier, in 2016, SpaceX landed the stage on an unmanned ship floating in the ocean. In a tweet, Musk explains that landing on water is not that it's more cost-effective, it's actually more feasible because the launch vehicles must gain altitude in arc-shaped trajectories to reach orbital space. In 2017, SpaceX became the first company to reuse the first stage of a rocket, and in May of 2018, SpaceX launched its first Block 5 Falcon 9 rocket, a definitive version designed to be reused up to 100 times with periodic repairs. Today, the maximum number of launches of the same stage is 9 times. Of course, landing a rocket is only part of the equation when it comes to reusability and reducing the cost of space travel. So, the SpaceX spacecraft itself can also be reused. On June 3rd of 2017, the company launched a Falcon 9 rocket with a previously used Dragon capsule on board as part of its 11th mission to deliver supplies to the ISS. In 2018, SpaceX launches Falcon Heavy, a modular rocket consisting of 3 Falcon 9s for the first time. With 27 engines, it became the most powerful rocket launched in the US since Saturn V. We talked more about these legendary rockets at the episode up in the hint. After the Falcon Heavy, Musk begins testing Starhopper, a prototype of the Starship, which in the future will have to take people to Mars. By the way, SpaceX shares should go on public sale only after the company sends a mission to Mars, which has been said repeatedly by Elon himself. The new Raptor rocket engines were developed for the mission, the power of which was tested by jumping Starhopper. In parallel, the company completed tests of the Crew Dragon passenger capsule and sent people to the ISS on May 30th of 2020. Although the flight did go smoothly, astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley said the Falcon 9 flight was a bit heavier than expected. Still, 2 months later, the Demo 2 capsule, renamed Endeavour, returned to Earth on August 2, 2020, with the astronauts aboard. And to reduce G-loads, the capsule seating angle was changed, reducing its capacity from 7 to 4 people, but making the flight much more enjoyable. In November, the Crew Dragon became the first ever NASA-certified commercial spacecraft and sent 4 people to the ISS aboard the Crew 1 mission. The SpaceX spacecraft can dock with the ISS in automatic or a manual mode. Crew Dragon does not have the usual panels with many buttons and switches. It's the first video game-style touchscreen-controlled ship. 3 monitors are ensured by a few spare buttons underneath. Remember, the flight on the Crew Dragon is in automatic mode, and manual control is needed only for emergencies. April 23, 2021, Crew Dragon spacecraft again sent astronauts to the ISS. Meanwhile, SpaceX's next flight, scheduled for September 15th, should go down yet again in history as the first all-private and all-civilian mission, appropriately named Inspiration 4. Then there will be the October 23rd flight, with 3 astronauts and a 4th, as of yet unnamed, crew member aboard the ship. But back to the ambitious plans to conquer Mars. In August of 2020, the company tested a complete Starship prototype, the SN5. After the SN5's 150-meter jump, Elon Musk tweeted that flying to Mars began to seem like a reality. The test flight of the SN5 Starship prototype used a single Raptor engine, whereas the final version of the rocket will include about 41 engines. On May 5th of this year, the last SN15 prototype rocketed to an altitude of about 10 kilometers and successfully landed on the launch pad for the first time. True, there was a then small fire on the ground, but it was quickly extinguished. This is a normal phenomenon for the fuel that is used, explained the company's engineer John Struker. Recall that previous Starship prototypes have mostly exploded on landings. Most recently, in April of 2021, NASA selected Starship to land humans on the Moon. The agency also commissioned the company to design and build a lunar landing model, but NASA later had to freeze that contract because of protests from competitors. The protest to the U.S. Chamber of Accounts was filed by Jeff Bezos, head of Blue Origin, which considers itself to be a competitor to SpaceX. Until the end of Bezos' complaint, Musk will not receive money for the development of the lunar program, and this despite the fact that Musk asked the agency for the smallest amount compared to the competitors. From a technical point of view, the solution proposed by SpaceX is considered the most difficult and risky. For SpaceX, the Moon should become a new milestone on the way to the main goal, flights to Mars. Musk does not spread about how life will be organized on the Red Planet. He says SpaceX is primarily interested in providing transportation, letting others worry about infrastructure. However, some believe that a subsidiary of SpaceX, the Boring Company, will someday be able to lay tunnels on Mars that could be used for human habitation. Incidentally, a new source of funding for Musk's Martian plans could be the Starlink project. If the global satellite system for broadband internet access will attract 25 million internet subscribers, it will generate about $30 billion a year, which is 10 times more than what the company earns from launching rockets. At least that's what SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell said in a recent interview. Today, Starlink has more than 1,500 satellites in orbit. The network is already available for test use, and the company is taking steps to draw less criticism. For example, SpaceX is going to equip its satellites with a special sunshade to reduce their reflectivity and impact on astronomical observations. More than 500,000 customers have pre-ordered Starlink. The company hopes to have near global network coverage by the end of this year. This is aided by the recent US FCC approval to move satellites to a lower orbit, which Starlink's competitors have vigorously opposed. The lower orbit will provide more internet speeds from the company. SpaceX's immediate plans include sending the Japanese billionaire on a Starship mission around the Moon in 2023, landing humans on the Moon in 2024, and landing humans on Mars in 2026. Musk has a bad reputation for meeting deadlines, but a good one in terms of keeping his promises sooner than later. What do you think? Do you think we'll see human missions to Mars before 2030 on Musk's Starship? Write in the comments below and let us know. Subscribe to the Pro Robot channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Anthropomorphic bipedal robots are certainly the most spectacular, but far from the most practical. Four-legged robots are much more stable. See the top of the most unusual, strongest, strangest, and most amazing four-legged robots to date. Here we go. The strongest four-legged robot in the world is HiQ Real, created by the developers at the Italian Institute of Technology. The hydraulically powered robot weighs 130 kilograms, is 1.3 meters long, and just under a meter high. A 48-volt battery powers two computers, one for visual data processing and one for motion calculation. Four electric motors drive hydraulic pumps which create pressure in the system. And this power of hydraulics is enough to tow a Piaggio P180 Avante passenger plane weighing 3.3 tons. In test, the robot was able to pull the airplane 10 meters. The robust, reliable, and energy-efficient robot is fully autonomous. HiQ Real's aluminum frame is lined with Kevlar, fiberglass, and plastic. The robot is designed to support people in emergency situations. The most practical four-legged robot is probably the Vision 60 from Ghost Robotics. This is the first robot dog to get a real job on a US military base. And although the price of the robot has not yet been disclosed, we know the military chose Vision 60, which they named QUGV, or Four-Legged Unmanned Vehicle. They chose it for its low cost, reliability, and practicality. The robot is not afraid of dirt. It can overcome steep and stony slopes, crawl on a half-crouch in the grass, run fast and on flat terrain, as well as overcome water obstacles. In this case, the design of the robot is modular, and any of its components that have failed can be replaced by a spare in just a few minutes. The QUGV is designed to patrol the perimeter of military bases. The robot can be controlled using a virtual reality headset. If the operator sees intruders near the base, he can order them to leave the protected area using a radio attached to the robot. The first alien four-legged robot could be Boston Dynamics' Spot Robot. We talked in detail about the company's robot in the issue at the link in the hint. Here we look at the prospects of a robot for Mars exploration. The idea is to use robot dogs that come from underground orienteering competitions won by an upgraded version of the AU Spot Robot. The robot dog got network sensors and software that allow it to safely and autonomously scan, navigate, map the environment and underground tunnels. AU Spot processes input from LiDAR, visual, thermal, and motion sensors to create three-dimensional maps. The future Mars dog also uses artificial intelligence to learn what structures to avoid and identify objects that might be of scientific interest. All while a single communications module allows the robot to transmit data to the surface while it explores underground. Spot's direct competitor, the Animal Sea robot, was the world's first robopod to demonstrate no water phobia. The quadrupod is able to move at speeds of 1 meter per second and perform other tasks for more than 2 hours. The robot weighs 50 kilograms and is 80 centimeters high and can carry loads of up to 10 kilograms. To navigate, Animal Sea uses a bunch of LiDAR at the top of the body and depth cameras mounted on each side. This allows Animal Sea to produce a three-dimensional and highly accurate map of the environment around it in real time. A computer with two 6-core Intel i7 processors and another dual-core Intel i7 processor is responsible for sensor information, processing, and other calculations. In addition, there's an interface on top that can be used to connect an NVIDIA Jetson AGX Xavier board to the robot, and this interface can also be used to extend the robot's capabilities. The Cheetah 3 robot was the first and so far the only completely blind robot that's still able to move on difficult terrain, and this includes stairs, jumping, and maintaining its equilibrium under external influences. Engineers over at MIT deprived the robot of cameras, LiDARs, and radars, but equipped it with two algorithms that help the robot move by touch. The first tells the Cheetah 3 about the condition of each limb 20 times per second, using data from gyroscopes and accelerometers. It calculates the chances of each foot making contact with the ground, the probability of force generated when the foot steps on the ground, and the probability that the foot will not touch the ground where expected. Based on this real-time data, the robot calculates how and when to move its feet. A second model prediction control algorithm calculates the foot and body position option at half a second into the future. This helps the robot maintain its balance even when sudden external impacts can occur. At the same time, the robot's knees bend both ways, so it doesn't have any needs to worry about turning around. By the way, the Cheetah 3's little brother, the mini cheetah robots, are probably some of the most nimble quadrupeds in the world. The 9-kilogram research robots can run almost 9 kilometers per hour, do somersaults, and land carefully when falling from heights. If you want to learn more about these and other robots, while you're here, subscribe to our channel. But the most nimble among the quadrupeds is probably the robot Direct. It may still be a concept, but it's the world's first quadruped capable of adapting to terrain as much as possible. In each new habitat, the robot changes its length of legs to move in the most optimal way, and it remembers the results, accumulating life experience for future endeavors. The robot can use built-in cameras and sensors in its legs to see uneven terrain and sense how tough the surface is. The technology also allows the robot to learn to recover if one of its legs are damaged or broken. What's also distinctive about Direct is that the ability to transform doesn't require any complex construction. In the future, engineers want to develop a simple and reliable, fully transformable robot for unpredictable environments, which will be able to change not only legs, but also the body. A group of Google researchers has created a robot that can learn to walk on its own with minimal human intervention. Deep learning with reinforcement helped Google's robot Rainbow Dash learn to walk on difficult surfaces by trial and error. A special feature of the study was that the robot learned to walk not only in a simulation, but immediately thereafter in person. It took Robot Dash only 1.5 hours to learn how to walk on a flat floor from scratch. Additionally, it took only 5.5 and 4.5 hours to learn to walk on a soft mattress and a relief mat respectively. Interestingly enough, if we combine the abilities of all the robots we've mentioned above, we would have a fully autonomous, self-learning, powerful robot capable of self-learning skills, performing complex tasks even blindly, and transforming to achieve goals. But enough of our heads in the clouds, let's get back to these amazing quadrupeds. Swiss engineers have taught a robot to skate deftly on ice for the first time. Thanks to software developed to quickly create and train robots of various designs, the robot, affectionately named Skaterbot, was able to learn wave-like movements on its own, allowing it to not only skate forward, but also turn in the right direction. The world's most unusual four-legged robot by design is Alfred 2. Engineers at the University of California, Berkeley have created a robot whose legs can bend in both directions and also rotate relative to each other. For example, it's possible to use 3 legs to move around and 1 to push a door, or conversely, 2 legs to stand still and 2 more to move small objects. Each leg of the robot has 3 segments and a small folding section at the end. There are 2 such sections on 2 legs and 1 on 2 more. They can synchronously rotate and allow the robot to stand on 2 legs so it doesn't fall on its side. So far, the cheapest 4-legged robot in the world is Solo 8, developed by a team from New York University's Tandon School of Engineering. The open-source robot for schools and institutes is similar in functionality to its more expensive counterparts, particularly thanks to its torque-controlled motors. The robot can bounce, get up after a fall, and flip over. All parts of the robot can be printed on a 3D printer or bought in a store. The robot can be used for research in the field of movement on different types of terrain, training with reinforcement of complex and dynamic behaviors, and more. Unfortunately, we haven't heard for a long time about the Centauro robot, a promising development for rescue operations. The robot was designed to combine the best of both worlds, the stability of a quadruped and the agility of a humanoid. The robot's legs could change height and move apart for greater stability, whereas strong arms were designed to free the way and even work with human tools. The 90-kilogram, 1.5-meter-long robot was controlled by an operator through a system that mimicked the movements of a human body part without using an exoskeleton. The system uses ASUS Action Pro depth camera for motion detection with data sent to the open pose algorithm, and that allows you to control the robot without any training. Thanks for watching and subscribe to the Pro Robot channel. Like this video and don't miss any new episodes about robots and high tech of the future. The latest news from Mars, the first flight of Elon Musk's Starship around the Earth, artificial muscles, desktop bioprinters, and why does IBM teach artificial intelligence to code? All of the most interesting technology news in today's one issue. We'll kick this off with the latest news from Mars. The Perseverance rover began exploring Martian boulders with a robotic arm. The first rover took pictures of the rocky formations with the Watson camera, and the SuperCam laser tool examined them from their chemical composition. It also imaged the planet's surface with the MAST-CAM-Z instrument, a multispectral stereoscopic camera with zoom capability. NASA scientists hope to understand how the boulders were formed as a result of volcanic activity or sedimentary rocks. NASA's other famous rover, the Curiosity, may be without one wheel. The movement on the rocky surface of Mars has caused some of the rover's wheels to become damaged. In the future, this may lead to the need for a special maneuver to drop one of the damaged wheels. Each of the rover's wheels consists of an inner and outer parts that have 19 grousers. The surface is made of aluminum sheets with a thickness of 0.75 millimeters. Experts note that now the wheels of the rover are fully operational, but the wear is faster than expected. The Chinese vehicle Tianwen-1 has successfully landed on the surface of Mars near the southern Utopia plain in the northern hemisphere of the planet. Tianwen-1 consists of an orbital module, a landing platform, and the Mars rover Zhuyun. The 240-kilogram solar-powered rover is to survey the landing site and then go to study the planet's geology and atmosphere. The rover has a mast with a high-resolution camera for photography and navigation, as well as GPR to search for underground water and ice. Exploration of the planet is expected to last about 90 Martian days. Scientists over at Stanford University have developed a system that recognizes the capital letters presented to the brain with an accuracy of up to 94% when typing online and an accuracy of over 99% in auto-swapped mode. The character typing rate was 90 per minute, whereas the previous record for such a system was only 40. Two planted sets of electrodes monitor the activity of about 200 neurons in the motor cortex, which is responsible for hand movements. Although the paralyzed volunteer was unable to move his arm due to spinal damage, this area of the brain is still generated the same signals as before. SpaceX has scheduled a test orbital flight of the Starship from Texas to Hawaii. The flight will test the combined operation of the spaceship and the Super Heavy launch vehicle. The flight will take just over 90 minutes to reach a maximum altitude of 116 kilometers and will land about 100 kilometers off the northwest coast of Kauai. Thus, Starship will make almost a complete orbit around the Earth. The test should take place by March 1st of 2022, and that same month, SpaceX is set to run at least a couple of prototypes of the Starship, a repeat for the SN-15 and a first test for the SN-16. Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maewaza, who intends to fly around the moon in Elon's Starship, will travel to the International Space Station as early as this December as a space tourist. Maezawa and his business assistant Yezo Hirano will travel to the International Space Station on Russia's Soyuz MS-20 spacecraft from Baikonur Cosmodrome on December 8, 2021. The duration of this flight will be 12 days. The Voyager 1 probe made itself known for transmitting to Earth the sound of interstellar space. The strong activity of electrons in interstellar space beyond the reach of the solar wind was a real discovery. This information will help to better understand the process outside stellar systems. Launched more than 40 years ago, leaving the heliosphere of the solar system, Voyager 1 was the first man-made interstellar spacecraft. We've told you more about it in the past, and you can watch that episode at the issue here in the hint. NASA reported that the OSIRIS-REx probe left the vicinity of the asteroid Bennu and began its return trip to Earth to deliver samples of the asteroid for comprehensive laboratory studies. So far, Earth has soil from two celestial bodies, the Moon and the asteroid Ryugu. China has launched the Tiny base module for its own space station into space, which could take 18 months to build and will require another 10 to 11 launches. The station itself was named Tiangong, which translates to Heavenly Palace. The Tiny module is the basis of the station, including life support and control systems. In addition, it will become the living quarters for 3 astronauts. Now Tiny is in low Earth orbit and can be seen from Earth with the naked eye. For those who want to catch a look, we leave a link to the station's position tracking site in the video description below. Roscosmos Corporation has reported on the successful completion of ground pneumo-vacuum tests of the Naka model, which is scheduled to be launched to the International Space Station in July of this year. The tests were aimed at checking the tightness of the hull as well as hatches and docking units. In addition, experts thoroughly inspected the functioning of the pneumatic hydraulic system and propulsion systems, as well as external hydraulic complexes. Now, a European robotic arm will be installed on the module to perform extravehicular activities and maintenance of the International Space Station. IBM is creating a database to train artificial intelligence to program, and somewhere now a Terminator is laughing. But, as you know, this is a joke. The set, called Project CodeNet, contains 14 million samples totaling 500 million lines of code in more than 55 programming languages. But the main base is C++ and Python. IBM wants the project to become a standard set of data for training AI models that can recognize the structure of programs. It's envisioned that CodeNet could be used to create intelligent development tools. Practical applications include searching in applications, translating from one programming language to another, choosing the right code implementations, and so on. Elon Musk promises to open access to the FSD Autopilot by subscription in June. The entrepreneur emphasizes that the 9th beta version of FSD will start distributing in the US next week, and the final release after the elimination of the remaining flaws will take place a couple of weeks later. According to Musk, the difference compared to the previous version of FSD will be huge. Honda and AutoX have reported the first 100 days of fully autonomous robot taxis AutoX. The cars drive without an insurance driver directly on public roads in China, although the company did not specify a specific location in the video. There are robot taxis in Beijing too. Baidu has launched its own drones, although for now with drivers for backup in Shugong Park. The cabs work on a commercial basis, so this is already a service and not just a test. Scientists over at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory have developed a robot for untangling hair. The Robot Wig robot is equipped with a camera and a sensor brush that allows you to assess the strength of the impact on the hair. The developers presented the tangled hair as a set of intertwined double spirals similar to DNA strands. This level of detail allowed the robot to gain key understandings of the mathematical models and control systems for manipulating bundles of soft fibers. SoftBank has sold Boston Dynamics, but it continues to fund robot startups. For example, the company invested $15 million in Yuibot, a Chinese manufacturer of industrial robots. The company develops solutions for the automation of production and logistics management, as well as inspection and maintenance for various industries. Developers from Boston University have created a robotic gripper capable of lifting even a single grain of sand. Inspired by the ancient Japanese art of kirigami, the gripper is capable of handling the smallest, most fragile, slippery, and irregular objects through cushioning. The flexible, thin, elastic shell grip is shaped like a 4-petal flower and decorated with neatly arranged linear cuts. The result is a scalable cell that can be bent in 3D to pick up objects. The grip can work alone, or it can be made into a chain to grip many objects at one time. The United States Air Force unveiled the F-16 Viper aircraft washing robot. The robot is able to wash the aircraft in as little as 1 hour, whereas a team of usually 4 humans need about 6 hours and chemical protective suits to do so. After all, the fighter often serves as a direct air support platform, flying in low-altitude missions in support of friendly troops, which means, purely theoretically, it could be contaminated with hazardous chemicals from potential adversaries. E-Ink, an e-book company, was able to adapt its e-ink technology to inkjet microprint biological objects, complex proteins, and even genes. Nuclera, a bioengineering company, helped to do this. Now it's preparing to develop and produce desktop bioprinters with broad capabilities. E-ink has learned how to control the size of droplets and their direction using electric fields. Printing biomaterials using e-ink technology is expected to revolutionize many areas related to human health, agriculture, and other fields. Australian engineers have developed artificial muscle fibers from twisted pairs of polyester filaments. Thanks to hydrogel, which swells when the pH of the environment changes, the filaments are able to increase in volume and twist into loops when the ends are fixed, mimicking the contraction of real muscles. The new artificial muscle fibers are capable of contracting by an unprecedented 90% and could be useful in the future for creating micro-robots and surgical micro-instruments. For example, micro scissors or tweezers, the body of which could be used making 3D printing. Marines from the United Kingdom have tested shipboarding with the Gravity Industries jetpack. For example, one of the Marines launched from a boat, caught up with the ship, landed on the deck, and dropped a ladder over the side for the rest of the crew. The test was deemed a success, although it's worth noting that the roar of the engines would not allow a Marine to land on an enemy ship without being detected. A way out of this could be the shoulder turret that Gravity Industries has tried to create with James Burton in 2019, but that concept apparently didn't get a follow-up. Subscribe to the Pro Robot channel, like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high-tech. Humanoid robots are often accused of being impractical, but that doesn't stop researchers around the world from developing humanoid robots for all occasions. From avatar robots, construction robots, robotic assistants, domestic and research robots, entertainment robots, and the most advanced humanoid robots in the world in today's video. The most advanced robot avatars today are being developed in Japan. For example, the robot T-HR3, introduced by Toyota in 2017. The humanoid robot is able to accurately imitate the movements of a human operator, including walking and fine finger movements. The 1.5 meter tall robot has 32 joints and is able to move very smoothly. The control is intuitive. The range of motion is not less than a human, and the VR helmet on the operator's head allows you to see through the eyes of the robot. The robot is designed to interact with people. The last update of the model was in 2019, but for now, unfortunately, it remains only a concept. Melton is developing technology that would help create cyborgs in the future. These are processing biosignals through the nerves in the human body and developing robotic products that replicate the human anatomy. Now the company has 2 robotic avatars capable of accurately replicating human-like movements. It is Melton A, which arms as precisely copy the structure of a human, taking into account the location of muscles and tendons going to individual fingers. Polymeric elastic wires are used as actuators, pressure sensors, and are also installed in the fingers of robots, and the feedback system provides haptic feedback. The robot is very accurate and very strong. It can hold a 2-liter canister of water with just 2 fingers. A signal transfer from the operator to the robot with a delay of only 0.02 of a second can even be done from a distance of 19,000 kilometers. And Melton B, designed for interested customers for dangerous work in environments with high or low temperatures, with chemical, biological, or radioactive contamination, and even possibly for space exploration. In doing so, the robot can still communicate to humans, but not only with gripping force, but also with texture of the object. And then there's Model H, Teleexistence's robot avatar for shopping and remote travel in Japan. The robot is controlled by a HTC Vive virtual reality helmet and a pair of controllers. The robot itself is mounted on an autonomous wheeled platform, has a pair of arms and a rotatable head, which has 2 cameras for stereo vision. A development of the project was Model T Robot Merchandiser, introduced last year. Store employees can control the robot, which acts as a merchandiser right from home using virtual reality. Video communication between the operator and the robot has a delay of 50 milliseconds, which has almost no effect on synchronicity. The robots are already working in stores of the Japanese chain Family Mart. Now, the company is working to make the robot work faster. But there are robots that are even closer to the human body. For example, Sarcos Robotics is developing and next year is going to mass produce a wearable robot called Guardian XO. The full-size exoskeleton is battery-powered and increases the operator's strength by 20 times, allowing you to lift loads up to 90 kilograms without strain. Guardian XO dynamically compensates for gravity and inertia, detecting the operator's movements within milliseconds. The suit's 24 degrees of freedom ensure free and natural movement, and the hands-free mode allows the operator to leave heavy loads in the hands of robot, freeing their own for demanding tasks. The robotic suit can be put on and removed in just 30 seconds without any assistance. The Guardian XO is the basis for the remotely controlled Guardian XT robot, which no longer needs to be put on itself. It is enough to control it from a safe distance. In the field of construction and repair, humanoid robots look attractive because they can work with the same materials and tools as humans. Take, for example, the HRP-5P robot, the fifth generation of robots from Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology. It can pick up and move heavy and bulky loads, open doors, go up and down stairs, bypass obstacles, and use common hand tools. The robot does not need constant supervision of the operator, and can perform a number of tasks independently, for example, move or fasten a sheet of drywall. The ARMR-6 robot from Second Hands Robotics, unlike the HRP-5P, is designed to help humans. The robot must understand commands in natural language and be able to recognize in advance what a human is trying to do and anticipate when it will need the help. In addition, the robot will be able to perform tasks that require a level of precision or physical strength that's unavailable to workers. And, of course, it must do all this autonomously and safely, surrounded by people in an active warehouse. The project is evolving, with the ARMR-6 being tested at Okado's Technologies warehouse last year. Meanwhile, Kawada Robotics' next-age robots are already at work at the Glory Factory in Saitama, Japan. 19 robots work alongside 300 people assembling machines to sort money for cash registers. The humanoid robots are equipped with cameras in their hands and are capable of performing complex repetitive operations with superhuman power, speed, and accuracy. Next-age can be used without safety barriers, simply by placing it where humans used to work. What's more, multiple next-age robots can coordinate their movements to work on the same task at the same time. Another helper robot, but now domestic, is the humanoid robot Walker from UB Tech Robotics. The company currently holds more than 700 patents in the humanoid robot industry. Walker is less than 1.5 meters tall and can recognize surfaces, map terrain, and avoid obstacles, walk on stairs, maintain balance under external influences, and manipulate various objects. It responds to voice, maintains eye contact, and can work safely alongside humans. 36 high-performance actuators, a full range of sensor systems, SLAM technology, and a system with elements of artificial intelligence allow this robot to recognize the host, find and track targets, as well as give an estimate of human posture, making the robot one of the most advanced robots in the world. Separately, research humanoid robots are worth highlighting in this issue. They don't yet solve specific tasks and are designed to allow engineers to understand what they can do in principle. The most famous and dexterous, of course, is the Atlas robot from Boston Dynamics. Contrary to popular fears, the robot is not equipped with artificial intelligence, but in dynamic movement, it is unrivaled. Cameras on its head, 28 joints in its legs and arms, and numerous sensors throughout the body help this robot stay in balance when making complex movements. When commanded to do a somersault, the robot relies on a developed library of movement trajectories, but adapts them to the real-world conditions in real time. We talked more about that at the link in the hint, and no, it's not computer graphics, as we're often told in the comments. But the 2020 breakthrough of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers recognized not Atlas, but the Iranian research humanoid Serena 4. The robot is capable of detecting faces and objects, recognizing and reproducing speech, and walking at a speed of less than 1 kilometer per hour. Serena has 43 degrees of freedom, and its arms can grasp objects in different shapes. Iranian engineers are using the robot to research two-legged movement, artificial intelligence, and to attract students to the engineering disciplines. If today's episode makes you think of Honda's Asimo robot, we mourn with you, because the project has closed and we will never see this robot again. What other advanced humanoid robots do you know? Let us know down in the comments. Subscribe to the Pro Robot channel while you're here, and like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high tech. Will there be a Tesla plant in Russia? When will the Tesla Roadster learn to fly? News about Elon Musk's Cybertruck, autonomous drones, and new robots for the military. Robot molecules capable of forming tissue, and other science and high-tech news in this one video. Elon Musk joined the online New Knowledge Conference. There, he said that in the future, all transportation on Earth will be unmanned and electric, except for rockets, which will also fly and fuel themselves. At the same time, to go beyond the solar system, we will need antimatter ships capable of reaching at least 10 to 20% of the speed of light. But first, we need to establish colonies on the Moon and Mars. And in the present, Tesla will soon come to Russia, Kazakhstan, and other CIS countries, with the possibility of the company's own factory in Russia. And on Twitter, Elon wrote about the new Tesla Roadster, which will be able to fly, although for a very short time. The entrepreneur explained that Tesla will use SpaceX technology and add new engines for the Roadster, which will give it the ability to fly. The maximum acceleration of the rocket engine of the future Roadster will be 96.5 kilometers per hour in just 1.1 seconds. However, when such a concept will be real, Musk has not yet let us know. By the way, recently there's a new cryptocurrency, Stop Elon, which aims to buy stocks of Tesla and then send Elon Musk on Pluto so his tweets do not bring down the Bitcoin. At the end of 2021, production of the Tesla Cybertruck model should begin. Previously, it was assumed that the car would be produced in a gigafactory in Berlin, but now the production is planned to start in the United States. Recently, at the Tesla Gigafactory in Texas, there was spotted possibly a new prototype of the car, which, as fans believe, is being tested there. From the amateur footage seen, we were able to find out that the prototype has new details, a folding ramp, and air suspension. The speed of satellite internet Starlink from Elon Musk has reached a new record of 560 megabits per second, but the delay was 13 milliseconds. These figures were recorded by a user from Germany. Experts note that the data transfer rate of Starlink may vary depending on the number of subscribers simultaneously connected to a particular chain of satellites and other factors. After a 2-year break, Virgin Galactic has launched its VSS Unity space plane to the edge of space. Eve's unusual twin-hulled carrier plane lifted the gleaming VSS Unity into the air and to altitudes of 13.5 kilometers, dropped it, and then the spaceplane turned on its jet engines and accelerated to speeds 3 times the speed of sound. VSS Unity then reached an altitude of nearly 90 kilometers, performed a slow somersault in microgravity, returned to the atmosphere in hover mode, and landed smoothly on the runway. The Unity flight, operated by 2 pilots and carrying research payloads for NASA, was the first spacecraft from Virgin Galactic's Spaceport America complex in New Mexico, a sort of futuristic luxury airport for wealthy space tourists. Today, the company has about 600 customers who have already paid about $80 million to send them to the frontier of space someday. The U.S. Air Force's Skyborg autonomous combat drone, which was made to accompany manned fighter jets, has made its maiden flight. Skyborg is not really a drone, it's actually more of an autonomous hardware and software system that can be installed on a military drone. During the first flight, the system's artificial intelligence responded to navigational commands, stayed in established geofences, and adhered to the flight range and was able to demonstrate coordinated maneuvering. The Skyborg project should eventually lead to high-speed drones equipped with sensors, weapons, and capable of making combat decisions at a speed only a computer can. The Israeli Defense Forces Special Research and Development Unit unveiled a new Jaguar combat robot. The robotic wheeled platform is partially autonomous and, in addition to dozens of sensors and its own intelligent navigational system, is equipped with a MAG machine gun, capable of firing both from a stationary state and while on the move. The robot can move independently to a given target, bypass obstacles, all while the operator can concentrate on firing the weapon. Jaguar is designed for reconnaissance, surveillance, convoy protection, ambush defense, as well as a decoy. The robot has a self-destruct system. Estonia also conducted combat exercises with 2 Milrem Robotics Themis robots, which provided situational awareness, fire support, and casualty evacuation for troops. One robot delivered ammunition to the line of fire, conducted machine gun fire support, and then removed the wounded from the battlefield, while the other deployed a tethered drone to guide artillery strikes. The robots were controlled by the military through a handheld interface and augmented reality headsets. The German company Rheinmetall will deliver 4 ground robots to the British Army by this summer. It is reported that this will be the second delivery of Mission Master's fire support robots. The robot is armed with a 7 and 62mm machine gun with remote control. In addition, the platform can be equipped with a 40mm or 70mm grenade launcher. According to the company, the system will require human approval before firing. Britain bought the robots as part of their robotic platoon vehicle program, which is designed to test how combat robots can improve the firepower and capabilities of mixed combat units at the platoon level. German aviation company Volocopter showed a concept of its airborne robot cab, which will be able to reach speeds of up to 178 km per hour and carry passengers up to 100 km. The Volo Connect, designed for 4 passengers, includes 6 electric motors, rotors, and a pair of fans in the back. But the most interesting thing is that the vehicle will navigate through space with the help of computer vision. The technology uses cameras equipped with artificial intelligence to capture key actions to turn the device around and predict future events that will occur in front of the cab. The first flights of the device should take place in Singapore in the coming years. Waymo's robotic taxi went crazy with a passenger inside, or at least as reported from the website drone.com. The cause was common traffic signal cones. The robot taxi needed to turn right on a multi-lane main road, but the rightmost lane was blocked by construction cones, and the drone went into an unplanned stupor. In such cases, a remote operator is connected to the car and calms the passengers down and calls the live driver, as happened in this case. Interestingly, the car was not just standing there, but tried to pull out onto the road and blocked the traffic. The developer of delivery robots, Starship Technologies, announced that it had quadrupled the number of deliveries since the pandemic began, reducing the cost of each delivery so that robot delivery was cheaper than any other option. The good thing is that the company's robo-couriers work mostly on college campuses, and it's too soon for live couriers in cities to sound the alarm. Agility Robotics robot Cassie has learned to walk any stairs blindly. Moving bipedal robots is not an easy task in principle, and stairs are a real headache for researchers. Robots usually need a lot of sensors and a bunch of calculations to try to traverse a new staircase. The engineers at Agility Robotics decided not to give Cassie any information about the stairs it climbs or descends. The robot receives only proprioceptive feedback, meaning it understands where its limbs are when they make contact with the surface. The robot bumps into the railing, slips off the steps, misses steps, and sometimes walks backwards, but manages to not fall and keeps walking until it needs to get where it should be. And that is amazing. The recognition of robots by artists continues. Thus, self-portraits of the robot Ada were exhibited at the Design Museum in London. The robot creates large-scale self-portraits using artificial intelligence algorithms. A representative of the museum said that the work of Ada makes us think about the development of technology, the options for their use, and the risks associated with artificial intelligence. Let us know, how do you feel about robot artists? British scientists decided to test how human brain would react to a 6th robotic finger on the hand. The device was controlled by sensors attached to the user's big toes and transmitted signals wirelessly. By rotating the toes, humans quickly learned to grasp objects of different shapes with the right force. But there was a side effect. An MRI of their brains showed that after a few days, the participants' brains had reorganized the natural representation of the hand in the area associated with movement. Basically, it shrank. And the researchers don't yet know whether this change is good or bad, temporary or not. The experiment continues. Another team of researchers taught paralyzed people to use robotic grips using a sense of touch rather than eye contact. Previously, people have always controlled robotic grips by the power of thought, determining the correct position visually. However, this required long training and full attention. Adding other senses would have been obvious advantages. So when scientists gained insight into the areas of the brain that process sensory information from the skin of the hands, they implanted 2 electrode arrays into this part of the brain. As a result, the study participant who was paralyzed below the neck and had previously been controlling the robotic arm with his mind for about 2 years was now able to interact with objects much faster and more efficiently. Italian scientists created Moblot, a model of swarm robotics in which robotic molecules naturally form matter. Molecular oblivious robots refers to a system in which simple robots can move around to form more complex computational units, like atoms combining to form molecules. Once formed, molecular robots can take any shape based on certain compositional properties, forming robotic matter capable of transformation on command. ABB Robotics has begun actively promoting automation in the construction industry with new robots. The company believes that robots will be able to produce affordable housing quickly, cheaply, and sustainably. The company's research focuses on modular homes, robotic welding, and material handling on construction sites, and 3D printing of homes and custom homes. With current housing prices, we would like to believe in the success of ABB's robots and that we will have them too someday. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high tech.